Okay, so I'd like to welcome you back to our fourth annual research symposium. Today we have a presentation from Gina Frommer, who is going to present her proposal on Black women who emerged from poverty and transitioned into executive positions. So Gina, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being here, and I'm really excited about this topic. Let's see. Okay. So my name is Gina Frommer. I am a current doctoral candidate, hopefully graduating in August. I am in the School of Psychology and Organizational Development and Leadership. I currently I'm a CEO for a nonprofit in San Francisco, and I have been in the human services field, in the field of nonprofits for over 45 years. Really excited about this topic. Oops. Okay, I'm having some issues. I need to go back. I have lost my slide here. There we go. So the background of the study, this study is really important to me because as an African-American woman in leadership, I've been exposed to environments where I'm often the only one, especially at the CEO level. And I've always wondered, why is that the case? And are we, poverty sort of stepped into my mind, like, are we moving individuals through systems fast enough so Black women and Black girls can have the opportunity to sit where I'm sitting right now? And so that's was sort of the nexus and the curiosity behind this research study. And so some of the findings in the literature, pretty daunting, but I want to share that. This is sort of the background of the study, is that Black women live in poverty at a higher rate than their white counterparts. And you can see the data there. Around 67% of executive leadership positions are held by white men, compared to about 1.4% by Black women, indicating that Black women are significantly underrepresented in the corporate arena. And I remember when I first started the research, the one glaring thing that stood out to me was that there was one African-American woman in a Fortune 500 company, Ursula Burns at Xerox. And it was a big deal because she was like the only one that hit the Forbes 500. And so again, building more curiosity, it led me into deeper research and really going further into the lifespan of that female, going further back to their childhood. And so looking at that, sort of the research, glaring research is that Black children live in poverty. If you live in poverty, you grow up to be adults in poverty, 92.7% of the time. That's significant. And so the emergence of Black girls out of poverty and into executive leadership later in life, is statistically anomalous. And so that's what the research time and time again kept showing. So the underrepresentation of Black women in executive positions is tied to, based on the research, a host of societal factors that can hinder later leadership emergence. So going deeper into the research, there were some pivotal studies done, recent, nothing later, earlier on, seminal research was scant, but more research recently, particularly Jacobs, really talked about the low percentage of Black women in executive leadership positions was tied to Black girls raised in poverty may view aspirations to prominent leadership as beyond reach, right? And so this sort of led to the general problem that I'm trying to solve in this research is that, that few Black girls who are raised in poverty in the United States have a realistic opportunity to reach executive positions in adulthood. The specific problem, honing in on that a little bit more, is the lack of understanding of the factors, particularly the role of resilience that were pivotal in elevating Black women from conditions of poverty to executive leadership. What were those factors? I mean, they must be different for everybody. Individuals are individuals, and so it must be different. But what is the research saying about this? And so that prompted a couple of questions from me. How do Black women perceive the factors that may have contributed to their emergence from poverty and to executive positions? And the second question, that was coming out of the research was, how do Black women perceive the role of resilience in emerging from poverty into executive leadership? Those are the two research questions that were shaped for this study. And of course, digging deeper into the research, trying to find out those factors. Were there themes? What was the research saying about the factors in the literature? So the task of understanding internal and external factors contributing to or hindering Black girls' emergence from poverty is steeped in historical context. See, I didn't really know that, that there's more to it than that, because you have the whole poverty picture that sort of leads into this. And so that was very intriguing to find out in the literature. The literature also revealed several interrelated factors. Children were exposed to either supported or hindered many Black women's chances of exiting from poverty. That was another piece, right? Not a lot, but very significant. And then across the literature, resilience is exemplified in perseverance and strength embodied by Black women who raise their children through poverty. So even in all that disparity and all of the things that was coming out of the literature showed that there was a resilience in these women, even in poverty, that got them through. And so that's something that's going to be elevated throughout the study. So, what is the significance of this study anyway? Is it just for my own self-gratification? No. I was thinking, and looking at the field that I work in, right? Leadership development, working with people, and so this is going to be a case study. This proposed case study has practical significance in the form of potential value to practitioners who work in the field of leadership development or on anti-poverty strategies. Decades and decades and decades of anti-poverty strategies across this country. And, that's going to be important for them. So with applicability to several facets of the leadership field, of course, right? That's what my study, and that's what I'm interested in. That's what I do. The findings from this case study may offer insights for leadership development academians or developers or administrators, again, of anti-poverty programs, about how childhood factors affect opportunities and outcomes for Black girls living in poverty. That's important to me, and that's important to in the research. It's just not saying, okay, yes, we have a one and done. We got Ketanji Brown, one and done. We got Michelle Obama, one and done. We have, our Vice President, Kamala, one and done. If that's all we settle for, that's not okay. What is this study going to do to support, just sharing stories of women who've gone through this, and how can that be an impetus to design and expand programs closer to communities where Black girls live? So talking about Black girls and Black women and the resilience factor, right? That sort of emerged. What is resilience? And, there's a lot of definitions for resilience, but I'm honing on what the research sort of elevated around Black women and Black girls. When a particular combination of external factors do come into play in Black girls' lives, they may work in harmony with internal factors shown to build resilience in children, self-regulation, supporting that self-regulation, and promoting confidence. And this was truly elevated in the research around Jacobs. 2020 was really the only one study done on poverty, emergence, and education and Black girls, and the success and what happens with teachers, that cross collaboration around the educational environment, and how that can support or hinder later leadership emergence in Black girls. The other piece that emerged was Black women have fought for better living conditions, social justice, and equality. They also have fought for a viable education for their children and fair employment practices. This also was recent research going back in as far back as 1967 with Blau and Simpson, Blau and the Blau research, but also coming into this 2019 study around Manduka and Sampson around how environment plays a role in it. We're really honing in on the educational factor around Jacob's study. So what is poverty? And that could be another study for another day, but I really wanted to hone in on the generational cycle. My mother was poor, her mother was poor, her mother was poor. Well, how are you not poor? Why are you one generation out of poverty? What was it for you? And so again, looking for that in the research, but one prominent view of generational poverty among seminal literature attributed to a dysfunctional culture that tended to perpetuate distorted values and behaviors, which impeded progress for future generations of children. Sort of the blame the victim sort of scenario there, and some of the older research from '68 coming into 2017. But the most popular view that reeked throughout the literature was expressed by researchers such as Blau and Duncan, and that's the only seminal research that I found that supported this view, and Brewer in 1988 held that generational poverty was not due to deviant behaviors or deficient in values by the people, but rather a societal racism, discrimination, and a lack of available opportunities for successive generations. This was the popular view in the literature, even though there were competing views that I've shared one, this was a popular view in the literature. So I ran with that. So as I begin to look at, what I'm doing, how am I doing it, what's the best way to, capture these stories, I thought about a qualitative case study, a study that will collect data in real time, one that would give me one-on-one time with the interviewees to hear and experience their stories, one that would have me analyze and break down the raw data. You break it down, you disassemble it, and then you sort of reassemble it around the themes. Even coding might happen. And then you begin to interpret the findings. Things begin to become clear. What were those factors across the board? Where were people standing in their individual perceptions of their life story around how they got out of poverty? This is their story. This is what's going to come through the dissertation, and the themes are going to emerge of what that was for them. And so I think that's pretty significant there's phenomena, there are different kinds of ways, of course, we know to do research, but this to me, the compiling, the disassembling, the reassembling, the interpreting the findings, the patterns, right? And then concluding with sort of these narratives that would share these lived experiences of these women and how they went through poverty in childhood and early adulthood, and how they came out the other side to be on a Fortune 500 company or to be a CEO of an organization. How did you do it when the data says it doesn't happen? It's rare, right? And so that's the challenge, right? So I took that challenge and I decided that this was going to be the way to go. And I thought that this research needed to be shared with others. And I thought that this would be a great opportunity to elevate these successes of these women, talk about the factors that they attribute to their success, share it. Maybe nobody reads it, but share what I believe and what the study says and what these women have shared to be significant practices that may have supported their, way out of poverty, when it's an anomaly right now. And so that takes me to the end. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to discuss my topic, the research and the proposed research to come. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Gina. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I have one question. Who are you going to have for your participants, Gina?
Thank you for asking that. I am, the criteria is that they currently have to be Black women, of course, in a CEO role. Currently, they have to have between 0 and 17 years old, lived in poverty, generational poverty, which means their mom was in poverty and they both experienced it. And currently that they, and they live in the 9 Bay Area counties, in the San Francisco Bay Area for now. I might have to extend it out to get more, but that's the people who I'm looking for participants.
Okay, great. We have a comment here that says, I appreciate your insightful presentation, Ms. Frommer. Your research tells us that we need to highlight the success of Black women and girls so that will improve the confidence and ambition of future generations. In her presentation of first day confidence issues during athletic, this was on the first day, confidence issues during athletic injury recovery, Rachel Hoff spoke about the differences between short-term confidence and long-term self-efficacy. Sorry, I'm butchering that word. Your presentation reinforces this concept by showing others that Black women and girls belong in leadership roles. Thank you for sharing. And then we have from Michael Robinson, such an important study. Thank you so much for your work. And Ellen Beatty, this is incredible research. Any thoughts as to actionable things leaders can do to support on a day-to-day basis to support the goals of Black females?
I would like to answer that. Absolutely. Someone took an interest in me at a young age, saw some leadership abilities and ran with it. And one of the studies that the Jacob study showed that, teachers in the classroom, Black girls who are, you got Black girls who are aggressive, white girls are assertive. So they're viewed differently, even in the same sort of excitement about doing a topic or joining a project. African-American girls are viewed differently. And yes, it's implicit bias, all those things that my study didn't go deeper into, but it did talk about how teachers and mentors are pivotal in the lives of Black females rising. And if you see that skill, somebody's antsy in the classroom, maybe they learn different, maybe they, talk to them, but you sort of support the leadership aspirations of Black girls, because the Jacob study showed that Black girls wanted to lead more than any other Asian, Latinx, white, any other group. Black girls were aspired to lead more. That's why that study was pivotal. So yes, see the potential and don't shut it off because because of your own personal biases. Enhance it, bring it about, and coach it and mold it. The other study I wanted to mention was McKinsey. The McKinsey study, 2020, they worked with the Urban Institute. And it also showed that Black women are not given management opportunities. So if you're a staff person, you have all these skills and you with your colleague could get advanced in the management before you will. Now, again, same skills, but viewed differently, right? Assertive, aggressive, right? And so I just think, we got to get out of taking a chance. We got to just go ahead and level the playing field and give all girls, particularly Black girls, the opportunity to lead. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you. I have a comment. I think that one of the things that really stood out for me in your presentation was your focus on how in the past we blame the victim really instead of the systems. I think you did a great job highlighting some of that in your research. So I appreciate that. What challenges do you anticipate in doing this research?
Well, I'm an African-American woman that's a CEO. And so my own personal biases, I've had, putting them aside, it's not about me. It really is about the person I'm interviewing, hearing their shared story, their stories, and bringing their lived experiences to life. So my own personal biases, one, just acknowledging that I'm a Black woman, I'm a CEO. Wow. I had friends who grew up in poverty. This is important to me, this research. So that piece of it. The other challenge is finding women, because if it's an anomaly, and I just posted my recruitment documents and I got 2 women already. That's good. My goal is to get between 10 to 15 participants, no less than 6, right? Because we know what the topic is, and I've looked at other dissertations around this kind of work, 6 to 8, and because it's not that many women out there that, I might have to expand my study beyond the Bay Area as well. I might have to go national, you know? So we'll see how that goes. I already have 2 participants that reached out to me via whatever process I have in place. I'm excited about that.
Are you looking for participants in any sector, or I know you may find more in the nonprofit sector just from my experience, but are you looking for any sector at all? For-profit, profit,
CEO,
public?
political leader,
Okay.
executive vice president, you know, really high level roles.
Okay. All right. Any other questions that we have for Gina today? Well, Gina, we thank you for your time. I think your research is going to be very valuable and important. I would like everyone to stay tuned. We do have more presentations today, and I would like to remind you that you can also review our e-poster sessions. We will post the link for you to the symposium, the research symposium, where you can find our e-posters as well. So thank you again, Gina, and stand by for more presentations to come.